Hey everyone, welcome to another new update preview. Today we're covering everything that's coming in the latest rotation of the Doom Tower. You should know the drill by now. With the new tower rotation comes new affinities in all boss battles. Different enemies on every floor and new challenges for secret rooms. And, of course, 2 vicious new bosses and 2 awesome new artifact sets. Now, let's get into those bosses. Our first new powerhouse is Bommal the Dreadhorn. He's big, he's scary, and he's got an explosive temper. You're not going to like him when he's angry. Let's skip past his default attack and start with his third and most important skill, Rain of Bombs. First, it strips all the buffs off your team. Then it hits everyone for a hefty chunk of damage and covers your team in bomb debuffs. 1 bomb to start with, then an extra bomb for each buff the skill removed. And there's almost nothing that can save you from these bombs. They can't be blocked, and once they're on you, they can't be removed. You're stuck with them until they go off. But, despite his name, bombs aren't the only trick up Bommal's mighty sleeves. His next skill, Magma Flood, is an AoE attack that places HP burn debuffs on your entire team. Though the bombs still matter here, every champion that takes damage from this HP burn debuff takes more damage for every bomb they have on them. Yikes. Block debuffs can help you against this at least. Removing debuffs doesn't do anything about the bombs, but it will remove HP burn. Both of these devastating skills are made worse by Bommal's default attack. His first skill, Ruinous Crush, hits your whole team like you'd expect, but it also ticks all the HP burn and bomb debuffs on the champions it hits. It can easily set off your bombs and burn your champions to ash. And we're not even done yet. Bommal the Dreadhorn also brings something a bit bigger to the party. Bommal's 4th skill is Dread Minions, and when he uses it, he places an unremovable increase attack buff on himself and summons more explosives. Big one this time, meet the Dread Bombs. They're like regular boss minions, but with one simple job, blow up and deal serious damage. When a Dread Bomb gets a turn, it explodes, hitting your entire party and dealing damage equal to 40% of each champion's max HP, ignoring defense and shields. So if 3 go off in a row, that's it for your team, no matter how tough you are. These Dread Bombs are immune to just about everything. Most debuffs bounce right off, you can't affect their turn meter, and they're immune to regular damage. The only thing you can do to them is freeze them and burn them. Freezing a Dread Bomb is actually a really good idea, as it halves the damage they deal, 20% max HP instead of 40%. Putting HP burn debuffs on them, or on Bommal, is less than smart though. It's never smart to burn a lit fuse. Every time an HP burn debuff goes off, every Dread Bomb on the field will fill 20% of their turn meters instead of taking damage. Suddenly, they're not nearly slow enough. Like I said, Dread Bombs are a nasty surprise if you're not careful, and you might have to deal with a lot of them. In addition to summoning them directly with the Dread Minion skill, Bommal also summons a Dread Bomb every time you reduce his turn meter. That's a lot of dread. You've got that to deal with, but let's talk about Bommal's unique passive skill, Pressure Wave. So, Bommal loves bombs, so if you place a bomb on him, he's cool with it, and he even takes extra damage because he loves them so much. But anytime you place any other debuff on Bommal, he counters them by placing another unblockable bomb on the champion that debuffed him. To make matters worse, this passive makes it so that when any of the Dreadhorn's bomb debuffs go off on any of your champions, there's a 50% chance every other champion on your team will get stunned. Ouch. So that's Bommal the Dreadhorn, and he really is a monster. I won't lie, this is a tough fight. Maybe one of the toughest in the Doom Tower. Still, Bommal is far from unbeatable. Here's a few tips. To start off, we should talk about Rain of Bombs. First, a massive buff removal, then a pile of bombs you can't block. But they can be resisted, and you can also resist the buff removal and deal with fewer bombs. As long as you have high enough resistance to protect your buffs, you can also use them to amp up your defenses and help mitigate some of the damage this boss puts out. Next, that Pressure Wave passive can really mess up teams that rely on shutting down bosses with debuffs. Try to place as few debuffs as possible. If you want, you can use Extend debuff skills to keep up the debuffs you've got instead of placing more. As long as we're talking debuffs, just like Bommal loves bombs, you'd better love them too, because they're a really great way to put out damage on this guy. Lastly, when it comes to debuffs, make sure you have champions that can put out a whole lot of freeze to weaken those Dread Bombs. Even a frozen Dread Bomb hurts though, so make sure you also have the healing to compensate. We're really looking forward to seeing how you guys deal with this beast. If you're in need of an incentive, though, defeating Bommal gives you new Dreadhorn plates. Take these artifact materials to the forge, and you can craft Fortitude artifacts. Fortitude is a 2-piece set that boosts the wearer's resistance by 40 and adds a nice 10% defense bonus on top. Nothing to sneeze at, especially since you can stack them. Alright, that's all there is to say about our bombastic rhino. Let's move on to the next challenger. Astranyx the Dark Fae. Might be the second most charming boss in the Doom Tower after Agrith. But charming is not the same as harmless. In fact, her charm might be the deadliest part about her. We're going to talk about her skills from back to front this time because that's definitely the order in which you'll be feeling the pain. So, we'll start with her passive skill, Fae Mirror. This skill is the pace setter for this fight. At the start of the battle, Astranyx turns herself invisible and creates evil twins of all your champions. These shadowy duplicates are called mirror copies, and they're an exact replica of your champion, including skill tome upgrades, artifact powers, and even the bonus from your leader's aura skill. They have access to all their skills, and they can even revive and buff each other, but they don't keep your skill instructions, so at least you don't have to worry about that. Either way, you're going to be fighting yourself, and you'll be doing it from minute 1. So, to recap, she creates a full team of mirror copies at the start of the battle and casts Perfect Veil to hide herself. Well, it gets worse. She does it again every time she builds up 5 dark energy. What's that, and where's it come from? To answer that, let's get into skill number 4. The Dark Fae has a nasty habit of not just duplicating your champions, but outright stealing them as well. Dark Abduction has a 4-turn cooldown, and every time it comes up, Astranyx will pick a champion on your team and banish them. Banishing a champion is a brand new status effect, which effectively pulls them out of the fight entirely. They can't be the target of skills or abilities, their turn meter is reset, they can't take turns, their buffs and debuffs just sit there, and they can't take any kind of damage. So, they're completely safe, but they're also completely useless. And there's no duration, so they're stuck like that. But they're not stuck like that forever. When Astranyx banishes a champion, she'll also create a mirror copy of them. And if you destroy that mirror copy, you'll get your banished champion back. Though, if she banishes your last living champion, that's game over. Oh, and every time she casts Dark Abduction, she also gains a point of dark energy, which means she can also instantly trigger her Fae Mirror passive skill. If that happens, you'll be down a champion and you'll have an entire team of mirror copies to fight. So, get ready for a tough fight. At least Fae Mirror doesn't banish anyone else, so you won't lose another champion, and each champion can only have a single mirror copy. So, if she banishes someone and activates her passive, you're still only up against 5 mirror copies, not 6. Now, finally, we reach some simpler skills. When the Dark Fae uses her 3rd skill, Fairy Storm, she just smashes everyone with a hefty AoE attack, which deals an extra 25% damage for every mirror copy on the field. If that wasn't bad enough, all the mirror copies will follow up on this attack with their own default skills, focusing on one target. But if you've brought a lot of champions with AoE default attacks, you could be in for some serious hurt here. Astranyx's 2nd skill is Dark Tendrils, and here we reach her next highly specialized mechanic. See, the Dark Fae really cares about the affinities of your champions. When she uses Dark Tendrils, she hits your whole team with an AoE attack that has extra effects based on the affinities you have in play. She steals a buff from each champion for every magic champion you've got. She also steals 10% of every champion's turn meter for every force champion you've got. That means, at most, she reduces your whole team's turn meters by 50% and fills her own by 250%, basically guaranteeing that she gets another turn right away. On top of that, she heals herself by 10% of her max HP for every spirit champion you've got. And lastly, she has a 25% chance of placing True Fear debuffs on your whole team. That chance goes up by another 25% for every Void champion on your team. Whew, that's a lot of stuff she could do. You're going to have to track the affinities of your champions very, very carefully for this battle, so you can make sure that you can deal with everything she throws at you. Finally, we've reached her default skill. This simple attack just deals damage and places leech debuffs on your team. This can be frustrating since anything that keeps those mirror clones alive longer can be extremely dangerous. Alright, how on earth do you fight her? Astranyx basically has you battling yourself. Well, that's actually the key to victory. The first thing you have to deal with is your own mirror copies, so you'll need a team that can beat itself, as long as it goes first. See, your mirror copies have the exact same speeds as you, even if you bring a leader with a speed boost aura. By default, that means your champions are going to go first. You're the attacker. So if you don't do anything about your turn meters, the enemy mirror copies will go right after the champion they're duplicating. If your fastest champion can reduce or even reset all enemy turn meters, you can get your entire team to go before any mirror copies get a turn. You can also use AoE control skills like stun, provoke, or freeze to make sure no mirror copies ever get a turn. All that said, when mirror copies get created, they don't have any skills on cooldown. It can put you in a very dangerous position for the first few turns. The enemy has access to all your dirty tricks, even if your team is still recovering from the minion wave right before the boss battle. However, you can use shield, divine, and immunity artifact sets to help protect you for these initial stages. Mirror copies are technically not around for the start of the battle, when those set bonuses take effect. And buffs and debuffs don't get transferred when mirror copies are created anyway. Once you're able to deal with your mirror copies, all that's left is the Dark Fae herself. But she's no pushover. Her affinity-based attack can be especially devastating if you haven't built your team properly. Just make sure you're equipped to deal with whatever effect she's going to put out. Bring healing reduction debuffs if you've got a mostly spirit team, block debuffs if you're going mostly void, and high resistance if you've got too much magical force. This battle will really stretch your creativity, but we're confident you'll be able to find a way to win. And when you do, the rewards will be worth it. Send Astranyx back to the shadows, and you'll get Fae spheres to craft lethal artifacts in the Forge. This is a 4-piece set that will offer great bonuses to your damage dealers. A 10% crit rate boost on top of ignoring 25% of enemy defense. Give it to an attack champion, and they'll pack quite a punch. And that's it. We hope this guide has prepared you to face the brutal new challenges of the Doom Tower. Hit like and subscribe if you want to be the first one to see new content. The world of Teleria is always in motion, and we've got lots of exciting things to show you in the future. Happy raiding!